Hello and welcome to the How to CEO show. I'm your host, Murray Newlands. When you decided to become a CEO, the world changed. You can either build a $1 billion company or you can crash and burn. We're here to give you the knowledge, advice, skills, and the expertise to build a $1 billion company. In this show, we're going to look at what a CEO needs to know about finance. So, I started my first company when I was 23, and I really didn't know much about running the finance of a company. And it was really hard when I first got going. So, what are some of the things I learned along the way? Well, here are some things that I think every CEO needs to know about finance. And now I've run companies and departments with big budgets. So, here are my takeaways. Firstly, you need to know about what's the balance sheet right now. How much is coming in and what does the company know at any point in time? You also need to know about the income statement, how much money the company has made and how much money it's spending over time. It's normally a quarterly statement. What's the cash flow look like? Is it going to stay positive or is it going to go negative? And what that means is you can be making money on time over time. It might be that you're growing, and that can be a great time. So when I first, to give you an example, when I first started my first company, we got a really big client, and it was great. And they were a solid Fortune 500 company. They gave us some large contracts. Those contracts we fulfilled. They were happy to sign off the work, so we knew we were going to get paid. On the other hand, they paid very slowly. Big companies often pay very slowly. And they paid over 180 days. And at one point, after having started the company, they were 180 days on a few $100,000. And being my first company, not having a lot of cash, that meant borrowing and running up the credit cards. Even though I knew I was going to get the money, even though I knew that the company was going to be very profitable, the fact that I hadn't understood the cash flow implications of taking on this big customer meant that it was tricky to pay the salaries of everyone while we were waiting to get paid by the bigger company. And that is a trap that a lot of small businesses fall into. It's a trap that lots of startups get into. They start working with bigger companies. Those big companies can take a long time to sign off a project. They can take a long time to get the first payment. And then they can take a long time to pay. And then even the decision to make a second order can take a long time. So when you're thinking about starting a business particularly, you need to think about how you're going to cash flow that business. You really, really need to understand as you change the business, as you take on different customers, how that affects the cash flow for the business. A lot of this also comes down to what types of products or service you're going to provide at different times. To take a different example, another thing that companies often do, particularly small companies, individuals get into, is taking on lots of small jobs that provide small amounts of cash. Now, they can look great in the short term. On the other hand, they're often not very well paid. They mean that you don't focus on higher value products, higher value services that mean you end up making a lot more money. And often selling one small product can take as much time, as much customer service as selling much higher value items, which might take longer to sell, might be harder to sell. But when you make the sale, can make all the difference in the company's revenue and the future prospects. And often doing bigger, better projects leads to more bigger and better projects and a greater cycle that way. So what I think you should really try and do as CEO is work out what is my business process going to be? where am I right now? Where am I going to be in the future? How am I going to finance it? How am I going to cash flow it? Do I know the margin on all of the elements that I'm doing? Do I know where my greatest profits are? Do I know where my competitors equally, where they're making their profits? Do I understand what business process they're going through, what their cash flow process looks like? Because you can easily get lost in where you are yourself. But if you also understand truly bigger picture, the bigger landscape, where your bigger competitors are in the process and where they make the majority of their money, that can give you greater insights into how you as a CEO can drive more revenues for your company. The other thing is to really think about understanding which parts of your business are more successful and generating more profit than others, and also where those risks are. Another example, when I ran my first company, when I first started out as 23, we had one part of the company that was growing successfully. We grew another part of the company with another team. Very quickly, both parts grew. And then, but what we didn't realize, and looking back on it now, which I think about a lot, is that one part grew with much more profitability and much less risk than the other part. One part, they kind of grew at the same revenue. Profitability on part B, for example, was not as high, but the volume was much higher. But equally, there's a lot more risk with it. Also, a lot more team members involved, so involved a lot more management. And looking back now, I would have cut out that part B that was higher risk, that involved a lot more people, and then really focused on the part that was most profitable and trying to grow that and replicate that more. And maybe if I'd spent more time on that, I would have had a more successful business overall in that part. I'm Mo Newlands. That's my thoughts on what CEOs need to know about basics of finance. Thank you for subscribing to the How to CEO show. I look forward to chatting to you next time. If you like this, please share it. I say I'm Mo Newlands. You listen to the How to CEO show. See you next time.